December 17th, 1944. Bullingen, Belgium. SS Oberfuhrer Jochen Peiper, commander of Kampfgruppe Peiper, the spearhead of the 1st SS Panzer Division, watched his men refuel their tanks. They were using American fuel, American jerry cans, and American prisoners of war to work the pumps. Peiper's mission was simple: punch through American lines, race west, seize the Meuse River bridges, and split the Allied armies in two. This was Operation Watch on the Rhine, Hitler's largest offensive in the West since 1940. The goal was Antwerp. The entire offensive was predicated on a gamble: fuel. The German High Command had allocated 5 million gallons of gasoline for the entire attack, half of what was needed to reach Antwerp. Their solution was to capture American fuel depots. Bullingen was the first test. Peiper's Kampfgruppe Peiper took the town, finding 50,000 gallons of fuel intact, enough to keep moving west. Peiper, whose men had been fighting for 36 hours straight, ordered the American prisoners to pump their own fuel into German panzers, an efficient move and a psychological weapon. Yet this was only a temporary fix. Peiper knew from the Eastern Front that the best tank in the world was useless with an empty gas tank. By 1943, the Wehrmacht had lost more vehicles to fuel shortages than to Soviet action. Now, in Belgium, German logistics had again collapsed. The allocated fuel was stuck behind the lines due to traffic jams, bombed roads, and American fighter bombers. Peiper had to capture American fuel or stop. His intelligence map showed another, larger depot at Stavelot. While refueling, Peiper inspected the captured American supplies. Everything was abundant, organized, and labeled. He picked up a K-Ration box, a small, waterproof cardboard container. Inside was a can of chopped ham and eggs, hard biscuits, a chocolate bar, 4 cigarettes, instant coffee, sugar tablets, chewing gum, and even a can opener and toilet paper. Everything a soldier needed for one meal, packaged in a box the size of a book, weighing less than a pound. In contrast, German field rations, when they arrived at all, required cooking, came in bulk, and were often poor quality. Peiper's own unit was eating captured American food or food taken from Belgian civilians. The manufactured date on the K-Ration was October 1944, just 2 months old. This meant the Americans were producing and delivering rations manufactured only weeks ago to the front. Peiper calculated the staggering industrial capacity required. If every American soldier received 3 of these meals a day, that was 30 million individual meal boxes daily. Germany, even with its entire armaments industry mobilized for total war, could not produce enough food to properly feed its own soldiers. The Americans were packaging individual, waterproof meals with luxuries like chewing gum. Peiper realized the difference wasn't just quantity, but quality and organization. Soviet logistics, which Peiper had witnessed in the East, were crude but effective mass production. American logistics were standardized, individually packaged, and showed careful industrial planning. After refueling from the Bullingen depot, Peiper's Kampfgruppe Peiper reached Stavelot at noon. A 3-hour battle ensued before German forces forced the Americans back across the river, finding the bridge intact. They searched for the promised major fuel depot, which intelligence claimed held enough fuel to continue the offensive for days. They found nothing, only scattered jerry cans with a few thousand gallons. Peiper decided he could not wait and continued the advance. What Peiper did not know was that the depot existed, holding 3.2 million gallons of gasoline. It was stored in 5-gallon jerry cans, stacked along a 3-mile stretch of road, 300 yards from the route Peiper took. Peiper drove past 3 million gallons of fuel and never saw it. He was looking for what a German depot looked like, storage tanks, buildings, and guards. The American depot was just fuel, stacked in portable containers ready to be distributed. He missed it because he was looking for the wrong thing. Without the fuel, Peiper's advance was doomed. By December 21st, his Kampfgruppe Peiper was surrounded at Stoumont. Cut off, with no fuel, no ammunition, and no way back, Peiper met his American counterpart, Major Hal Macau, who was captured. Macau spent 3 days with Kampfgruppe Peiper, making mental notes. What he saw contradicted Peiper's belief that Germany would win. German soldiers looked exhausted. Many wore parts of American uniforms because their own logistics couldn't provide adequate winter gear. Most were eating captured American K, C, and 10-in-1 rations. They examined the contents, chocolate, real coffee, cigarettes, like children opening presents. One soldier told Macau the American ham was better than anything the Wehrmacht issued. Macau understood that the inability to produce rations like the Americans meant they lacked the industrial capacity to produce everything else needed for modern warfare. The Americans were packaging individual, waterproof meals with luxuries like chewing gum. German medical supplies were critically short, with no morphine or sulfa drugs, and bandages were being reused. Macau witnessed amputations performed with minimal anesthesia, a practice he considered medieval compared to American standards. The attempted aerial resupply on December 22nd failed, with most canisters landing outside the German perimeter in American positions. Now completely isolated, Peiper faced an unsustainable situation. No fuel, dwindling supplies, and hundreds of casualties. On December 23rd, Peiper made the decision to break out on foot. They destroyed their vehicles, abandoned their wounded with American medical supplies, and released the American prisoners. Peiper abandoned 7 Tiger II tanks, 50 medium tanks, and 135 vehicles, all intact and functional, but immobilized because the fuel tanks were empty. Macau, who escaped and made it back to American lines, later testified that the Germans lost at Stoumont because they ran out of supplies, fuel, ammunition, food, and medical supplies. The Wehrmacht was an army that could no longer sustain itself in combat. After the war, General Oberst Hasso von Manteuffel, commander of the 5th Panzer Army during the offensive, was interrogated. He confirmed that Hitler's plan was strategically impossible due to the fuel allocation. Basing operations on capturing enemy supplies was a gamble, and all 3 negative scenarios, depots destroyed, missed, or defended, occurred. Manteuffel said his tank units were dry by the 2nd day of the offensive. Manteuffel was frank about German logistics. It had collapsed since 1943. German trucks broke down faster than they could be repaired, and the Wehrmacht became dependent on hundreds of thousands of horses for supply wagons. This meant mechanized warfare was being fought with horse-drawn logistics. Combat units outran their supplies, then stopped. In contrast, American logistics used standardized trucks, moved faster, and required no daily feeding. Allied strategic bombing also crippled German logistics by hitting every rail junction and road. Manteuffel noted American factories were safe, producing war materials at rates Germany could never match. American supply depots were everywhere, abundant and redundant. The German system was fragile, operating on the edge of collapse, where one disruption meant crisis. Manteuffel knew Germany would lose the war in 1943 because of a lack of resources, industrial capacity, oil, food, and manpower. America had functionally unlimited capacity, secure oil, and a massive population. The mathematics were simple. America could produce more than Germany could destroy. In February 1946, SS Obergruppenführer Joseph Dietrich, commander of the 6th SS Panzer Army, joked in an interrogation, "We call ourselves the 6th Panzer Army because we have only got 6 panzers left." His army, which was supposed to lead the main thrust, had bogged down immediately due to poor planning and fuel shortages. The plan's dependency on capturing enemy supplies revealed Germany's logistical bankruptcy, desperation disguised as strategy. The consensus among historians is that the Ardennes offensive failed primarily due to logistics. Fuel shortages stopped the advance, and shortages of ammunition, food, and medical supplies degraded soldier effectiveness. American logistics won the Battle of the Bulge, not superior tactics. They moved reinforcements faster, supplied defensive positions, and sustained operations through winter conditions. In April 1945, Peiper was interrogated and shown a map of the missed depot at Stavelot, 3.2 million gallons, 300 yards from his route. Peiper smiled slightly and said, "I'm sorry." He explained he expected the fuel to be concentrated in town squares like at Bulge, and never thought to look for jerry cans stacked along a roadside. That missed opportunity changed the battle. The missed depot symbolized the larger German failure. The Wehrmacht expected American logistics to be like theirs, concentrated, formal, and predictable. American logistics were distributed, flexible, and abundant. The K-Ration, with 105 million produced in 1944 alone, was a representation of why America won. German soldiers saw food, but they should have seen industrial capacity, transportation networks, and an economic system that could produce and deliver millions of individual meal packages anywhere needed. The small luxuries like chocolate and chewing gum demonstrated the excess capacity that Germany lacked. When Germany surrendered in May 1945, Wehrmacht soldiers were starving, and many gained weight in American captivity because they received regular meals. The Battle of the Bulge had consumed Germany's last strategic reserves, and the units committed were gone. American forces, meanwhile, grew stronger, with the logistics system functioning efficiently. Germany lost World War II because it could not sustain modern warfare against opponents with superior industrial and logistical capacity. America produced more of everything faster. 400,000 trucks to Germany's 140,000, and 63,000 tanks to Germany's 46,000. American factories were safe and producing at full capacity. German soldiers at the Bulge, seeing abandoned American equipment, captured supply dumps, and wearing American uniforms, understood the disparity. That knowledge affected their combat effectiveness. American soldiers, knowing their logistics system worked, fought with the confidence that supplies and reinforcements would arrive. By February 1945, the logistical differential was absolute. German units abandoned vehicles. American units had excess fuel. German soldiers scrounged for food. American soldiers received hot meals. German wounded lay without morphine. American wounded received proper pain medication. German units surrendered en masse because they lacked food, fuel, ammunition, and hope. Logistics provided the foundation for everything else. An army without adequate supplies cannot execute tactics or implement strategy. The United States delivered more of everything faster and sustained operations longer. The K-Ration did not cause the American victory, but holding one in December 1944, German soldiers held the evidence of why they were losing.